Hello everyone. So before we get started, if you are enjoying the videos and find them informative, why don't you go ahead and think about liking and subscribing. It really does help out, and I want to do this full time. I just want to help y'all learn how to make games. It's what I love to do. And then, once you do that, have a great day. Otherwise, you know what? I still want you to have a great day. So, with that out of the way, this shameless plug, let's get into the video. So here's what to expect from this video. So I'll give a little preview at the start. This is the level we'll build. We'll stream it in. It'll be loadable, unloadable, and we'll set up a switch that we can press that when we go back, loads in an altered version of our level that is still dynamic, and it'll be easy to implement with a save system if you have one. So, alright, enjoy the video. So let's set up that dynamic level altering from that short I showed. It's actually not a difficult process. I've got a brand new project here, and I'm going to be using level streaming in this, which right now can't because this particular level has world partition enabled. So I'm going to create a new level of a basic map and then save this as my persistent level, but I'm going to put it into a folder. So in my blueprints, I'll just create a levels folder, and this will be my new persistent level. Now that we're in this new level, we can go to Window and get this levels folder and drag it over here. And if you open this one over in the other window, or other previous level, it'll just say can't be enabled because world partition or something like that. So you gotta create a new one, or disable world partition in that one, but it's just easier this way, in my opinion. I am gonna do one thing and drag out a post-process volume and just adjust it real quick to get rid of that exposure. So I'm just setting the min EV and max EV to 0 on both. Nope, 0 on both. I scrolled up with the wheel and it decided to change. Set the infinite extent unbound, and then we're good on that. Then you can make whatever adjustments we need to in here. For the persistent level, all I'm going to have is a terrain. So I'm just going to add landscape, set it to 0, and create. So now this is our persistent level, and over here in the drop downs we can create our new level. I'm just going to create an empty level because we already have our lighting and our floor from the persistent level. I'm just going to use this to let's just do this dungeon test. Now that we have our current context, we can make sure we're in our dungeon level, and then we can start building our walls of our first room. So I'm just gonna, I'm gonna set my snapping to 100 and my scale to 1. Just really helps with the building out process. And just kind of scale and drag around. I'm just gonna whip something up together real quick. It's not gonna look all that great probably, but just to get the point across. So this will be the little hallway where where the next one will go. And it doesn't have to be anything too intense for this. Basically, there's going to be just a switch right here, and then another switch right here that'll load in our level. So this is good for the dungeon portion. I know it's not the greatest of dungeons, but you get the idea. So now we will create a new level, and this will be our whatever level we're wanting to be dynamic. So this will be let's call it dynamic base, and then with that context selected, we will then create our next room. So just like you would do if you were doing regular level streaming, you just continue on that path of building out a new level. Let's drag that this way. Just kind of doesn't have to be anything overly fancy, just trying to get the point across. So we'll set up just some basic little stuff in it. So maybe a little ramp, maybe a little guardrail right here. I'll set my scale to 0.125. Actually, I'll leave the scale at 1 and I'll just manually enter it so it's on the green, so 0.1. And then just back like that. And then on the green, we'll go back 1995, 1990. And maybe something above just to have people standing on when we come back in. Seems kind of low, but doesn't really terribly matter. And then we will just some pillars. Basically design it however you want. And then I'll take this up here. And this is good enough. And if we hop over into our dynamic base, we'll see if we uncheck that eyeball, it's gone. So we can actually take this. So when we create a level over here, it goes into our content browser. So if we go find our maps folder, not maps, the blueprint levels folder, we got our dynamic base here. We can right click it and duplicate it. And this will be our dynamic base alteration. And it will duplicate everything inside the level. So instead of having to rebuild it exactly, we can now go to levels, add existing, get that dynamic base alteration. And now if I get rid of the dynamic base, this is still here. Or that one. So now with the dynamic base alteration chosen, we can go through and let's bring some mannequins in here. So we'll get someone standing up here looking down. And you know what? Manny's come out of retirement to wish you well. And now this pillar is for some reason on the ground. On the ground, bro, not floating. Just like that. And you know what, this has altered itself, I guess. I don't know, just adjustments just to show. So we'll browse the asset and then we'll put just a big pillar in the middle. So it'll be 0.25 and 0.25 by 5. And you know what? It's got a cube on top. Do I know why? No. But there it is. It's a cube. Now if we go to our levels, we can see if we click that one off and come back to this one, we got our unaltered one. And we can add in our other one. We want to make sure we only got one loaded at a time, of course. But how do we tell our switch that we're going to set up which one to choose? So the way I'm going about it is I'm doing this in the game mode. I'm setting a variable. basically adopting kind of something from RPG Maker in a sense, where in RPG Maker they have the switches. It's kind of like that. So let's go, first we need to go into our main level blueprint. Not the sub level, but the main level blueprint. And on begin play, we are going to load stream level by object reference. And I want it to be our dungeon test. Because that will be this. Main route. Where did it go? Oh. Make visible after load. Yeah. But the other ones are not visible, and you'll see over in the details panel, they do not have the eye clicked. Which is what we want. So if we go into our blueprints folder where our character's at, we will first need a way to communicate between blueprints. So we will need one interface just for our interactions, as you would need in any game anyway. And we'll set our interact, and then we'll go into our blueprint of our player, and we'll establish that functionality. So right click, 1 gets us our keyboard events quickly, change that to E. I'm going to kind of fly through this for those of you that have seen it. For those of you that have not, you can check out the video in the description for the more breakdown of the level streaming process. We're going more over of an alteration of it, so it's kind of an addendum, I guess. And this is our interact trace. We'll set that as a new function. Get actor location, get actor forward vector. And we're going to do a sphere trace by channel, not the multi, just the single. So we'll take our actor location and we'll use that as the start. Then we want to add from our forward vector a multiplication of a float base 75. And we'll plug that into the end with a radius of about 20, set our draw debug to for duration, break our hit results, find out if we have an actual hit. With a branch, get our hit actor, check to see if it is valid. This is a very important node. I love that node. If we do have a hit and it is valid, then we want to tell it to use our interact message. So we'll compile that, go back out, drag it out. There's our interact trace. So we'll create a new folder real quick. This will be our interacts. Basically, I guess. We can drop our interact BPI in there if you want to. I'm just going to use it to hold our switch. So this is going to be our BP underscore door transit or level transition switch. So this will be the button we come up and push in order to open this new level. And we could you could put a doorway here so it's more, you wouldn't want it to just be like the level spawns in. You would want like a doorway that you move through, but for ease of demonstration, we're just going to do this. So we'll have a static mesh to represent our switch, which I'm just going to use a cube. The 100 by 100 one, this one. I'll drag it up, and then I will add a box collision for our trigger. Also drag it up. I'm going to set this one to 0.2 on the scale, and this will be 64 by 64 just to encompass it. So we can drag it into our map and take a look. It'll be fine like that. Let's make sure it's not too high though. Bueno. So that'll be what loads in our level. Let's put it a little closer. Nah. I'll put it right here. Because then we gotta run back and do the thing over here. Actually, you know what? I'll just put it here and then I'll put the other switch here. So this was, yeah. That'll be fine. So for our level transition switch, we need to add our interact interface so that we'll be able to communicate messages across to it. And on event indirect, first we want to see, is this a dynamic level? If it's not, then we would just want to continue on and load our thing. So if you want to reuse this, you'll want to add the branch to find out if it's a dynamic level. Which we'll just go ahead and set it up this way. Be dynamic level. If it's not, then you'll just open your level by object reference here. But if it is, then we are going to get our game mode cast to the third person game mode, or whatever game mode your game is using. And then we're going to get some variables from here to determine whether or not a certain switch has been activated to know which level we should load. In order to do that, we need to jump over into our game mode and establish those variables. So the way I'm going to do this is with an enumerator and a map. So we need to create an enumerator, blueprint enumeration e_switch ID, and you'll just, I like using enumerators because instead of having to type everything exactly the same, you can just select it from a drop down. Makes it much easier. This will be I'm just going to call it switch 1. You'll want something much more descriptive for yours. That way you can just look at it and be like, oh, okay, this is for the swamp area or whatever's happening. Now in our third person game mode, we can add a variable over here. This will be our switch list. Don't come after me, Nintendo. It will be our switch ID enumerator, but over on the right, we will set it to be a map. And we want to set the type over here to be a Boolean. You could use an integer in theory and set a, so switch ID is 0, load this level, is 1, load this level, is 2, load this level, etc. I'm going to be using a Boolean just to have it one or the other instead of a bunch of different options. So we will add our first element in switch 1, and it is blank. So back in our level transition switch, if it is a dynamic level, then we will need to get switch list, get the keys, which is our list of the enumerator array. We're going to find item, which we will right click and promote to a variable called switch ID. Makes it simple. We can set that to be editable in editor. So what we can do is right out here in the details panel, we'll be able to set, if we have a bunch of different ones that we want to check, then we can just do it here. What I have noticed is I am in the wrong context. So once I try to jump in and I take away that, it'll disappear. So let me delete that one and jump it over into the persistent level. And then I'll set it back right there. It's easy to get confused on which context you're currently in, so check that periodically. Now it'll be fine. And I can still set it so it is dynamic. It's going to check for switch 1. Level transition. Alright, so we are going to find it. We will also get our values, which are the Boolean variables. Get a copy of the index that we find, and then we will open level by object reference here. And off this level we can do a select, plug in our Boolean, or if you're using an integer you can add that here and then add as many different options as you want. For my false, it will be the dynamic base, and for true, it will be my dynamic base alteration. Then at the very end, we will add one more Boolean that says level loaded. We don't want that one to have the eyeball ticked, we'll just leave it like that. And then once we interact, we'll do that for the first time. And at the very beginning, we'll check. We'll do a branch. to see if our level is loaded. If not, load it. If it is loaded, then we will do our same kind of cast, get all this, because we'll need to unload based on those things. So we'll copy and paste all that up to the true. And now we'll do an unload level by object reference. And then we'll plug that here. Oh, and double check that when we're not open level. It's load level. Oh, please don't crash. Not in the middle of a video. Come on now. Oh, thank the Lord. Alright. Woo! Alright, so let's do a load level. Load stream level by object reference. Good thing I went back to check to make sure this was ticked, otherwise I would have been messing up. So it's a load stream level, and then we want to make visible after load. Then up here, after we unload the stream level, we'll set that level loaded is back to false. So let's jump out into our project. We'll check to make sure our interact check is going. It do. We'll run over here, and our level is loading, and our level is unloading. Huzzah. I'm gonna do a quick save real quick, and then we're going to take our level transition and duplicate it, because this will be our BP underscore switch trigger. Open that up, and we can basically delete everything in here. We'll get rid of the dynamic level. We do need the switch ID. We don't need that. So we'll do our event interact. We will do our get game mode cast to the third person game mode, or your game mode of choice if you've got a custom one. This is the switch list, and we are going to add to this. So the thing about using maps is they can only have one, and especially with enumerators. I'm not completely sure about other methods of using maps. I pretty much use it with enumerators or in item lists, etc. But it can only have one of this. In fact, if you tried to go in and add another switch ID, so let's say we had switch 2, but we go to our game mode and we try to add another one, it won't let us because it can't add one while it has the same value. So you would have to set this to switch 2, and then you could add your switch 1. So when we add to our map with the same switch ID, it overwrites the previous version of it and creates it as a, it alters it to that. So once we interact with this one, it'll load that into our game mode. And I'll set this switch trigger right here so I know which one's which. Full screen it real quick. And then we run over. We've activated our level. There's not a lot going on. We leave. Again, pretend there's a doorway here. It's just, you know. We activate whatever puzzle, wherever this is at in our level. Then we can come back. And now it's loaded in our altered level. Didn't have to do too many. I mean, we still got some interact traces. You'd want that in your game anyway, though. Interactivity is the bread and butter of a video game. But you didn't have to loop through all the actors in this level and change their positions or activate blueprint actors. It's just loading in a separate level, casting to the game mode, which is already loaded. So yeah, so pretty simple, really. And then every time we come back, it'll be like that. The handy thing about doing it in the game mode is this would be easier to save now. So when you have a save system, you can just feed this over and it'll keep track. So if you quit the game and come back and then you're like, oh, I need to run into that room because maybe there was a store in this version of it, or in the altered, in this version of it, maybe he's a shop that you can't access in this version, but you want to be able to, so you load back in, opens your save, you don't have to go activate it again, So that's why I thought in the game mode would be a good place for it. So hope you found it interesting. If there's anything else that you'd like to hear about, see about, I don't know, just let me know. Alright, thank you.